So the Speediance Gym Monster is really expensive, but I have come to like using it quite a bit over the past few weeks. I was sent this product for free, so I got to test it and make a 30-minute review that I put on this channel and will link to in the description. But with that, there are some changes I would like to see software-wise so they can implement it today to get some more benefits out of this product. The first one of those updates is a better fail mode. So what I mean by that is currently, when you can't do another rep, if you have not completed all the reps in that set and you stop early, the set will continue. Even if you put the bar or the handles down on the floor, the set will continue until you tell it to go to the next exercise. And then when you do that, so there's a little arrow on the bottom of the screen, so when you click it and it goes over to the next exercise, you also don't get the rest period if you've planned one in the workout routine. So I have two solutions for this. The first one is, if you can't draw the cables anymore, so you're going through the contracted portion of something like a bicep curl, where you're contracting and squeezing up through the range of motion, if you can't draw the cable anymore, it gets stuck, and you even might maybe go the opposite direction, that after, say, 3 seconds, the machine ends your set. And in ending that set, it goes to whatever rest period you have programmed into that workout, or if you're using one of their pre-built ones, it goes to whatever rest period they program for you. My second option is pretty similar, but it's when you go and you click the arrow to go to the next exercise, also add in the rest period that you programmed in, or if it's been programmed for you. Just having it go to the next exercise, which sometimes carries the weight over, I've noticed, which can be really dangerous depending on what that next exercise is something I would like to have. So you press the arrow to change exercises, it gives you the rest period removing the weight, and then you can decide to skip that rest or take it before doing your next set or the next exercise in your routine. Alright, so my second update I would like them to make in the software is for the AI editor. Now, I didn't cover this a lot in my review, so just know you can have an AI editor take your program you built yourself if you're a member and have it kind of optimize it to what it thinks is best, so it can update things like your rest periods, how many sets you do depending on your level, and all this other kind of stuff in there based on certain criteria you pick. But the one thing it doesn't let you do is add on more resistance based on increments if you, say, completed all the reps in a given set. So for example, with how I like to do my progressive overload, once I can complete all the reps in my first set, the next time I do that exercise, I want to increase by 5 pounds. So what that'll do is it'll reduce my ability back down to somewhere in the beginning of the range. I usually go from like 5 to 10 is kind of my range. So once I hit 10 reps, I want to add on more resistance so that I drop down and I can work my way back up with more reps over time. So I'm kind of increasing the resistance to then try and go back down to my starting point, increase the reps, then resistance, then reps, and it just cycles through until I am just getting bigger and stronger over time. So that's how I like to program mine in, but that is not currently possible with how the AI editor is set up. So what that means for me is that I have to manually do it after I do each workout. Basically, I check the workout log, did I complete all of the reps in a set? And if I did, then I have to go in and manually add the 5 pounds myself for the next time I do the workout. I don't want to have to do that. I'd love it if that was actually put into the software so I could just show up the next time and it's ready to go. And a third update I would really like to see is that the machine has another option for resistance where it can perfectly match the strength curve of the exercise you choose. So this kind of goes back to Nautilus equipment, and if you do watch Jay Vincent on YouTube, it's a big thing he likes to discuss as well. So essentially, you have your strength curve and your resistance curve. The strength curve is where you are weakest and strongest through the entire range of motion for an exercise. So you want your resistance curve to also match that so that when you're in your strongest point, you have the most resistance in the movement, allowing you to really push yourself through the entire range of motion and build the most amount of strength where you are the strongest and have the resistance kind of fall off where you are the weakest. This can also help to reduce sticking points in a lift that tend to cause many people to give up when they really haven't actually come close to their failure point. And because this is software based, this should be really easy to implement. Yes, you would have to go through all the exercises and kind of map it to match your strength to resistance curves, but again, if they just built this over like a month or so, I feel like it could be pretty easy to update all the exercises after doing some research on what those strength curves are for the exercises in the entire catalog that they have. So those are the 3 I came up with after using the device, but I did find one bonus one I wanted to talk about, and that is the ability to have the system always reduce both cables at the same rate when using one of these spotters. So when I first started using the device, this was the case. Every time I used a spotter and I couldn't do another rep, it would reduce both cables at the same rate, making it uniform in terms of doing a lift. So when I was doing like a bicep curl, both cables would always be the same. However, in the past week's workout, I noticed sometimes that one will change the resistance faster than the other. So say I'm doing something like a bicep curl, the left one would reduce the resistance faster than the right because I'm just weaker in my left arm. So it got really awkward because one side would have a ton of resistance and the other side would have almost no resistance. So when you're doing both at the same time, it's just a very awkward feeling. This becomes even worse when doing things like suitcase squats, so you have your arms down by your side. This is where I felt it probably the most in being the weirdest form of the exercise. It can probably even create some really bad movement patterns in time if I didn't like optimize and catch it. So what I recommend here, have both options available to you, but you pick the setting you want. So if you're using spotter, have it or be able to set in the system if both cables should reduce at the same rate. But if you want to have just one kind of do it over the other, maybe you're focusing on some weird thing where you're trying to have one muscle catch up to the other, which by the way won't really matter. You could set it so one cable or the cables reduce on their own based on how much force you're providing when doing the actual exercise. I think this would be the best. Personally, I like to have them both just reduce at the same rate, but if you have to have both, then separate them in a setting within the software. So those are the updates I would like to see as soon as possible to make it fit perfectly with my home gym setup and the workouts I personally create. Now with that, if you haven't seen my 30-minute review, make sure you click the link in the description because you can get a full breakdown of me using the product and kind of pros and cons of what I think about it after using it for the first 2 weeks. Of course, updates will come from that, but make sure you check it out and see if it's right for you in your home gym.